Hi, Coach Steve here. A few weeks ago, I did a racket review on the Yonex Ezone 100 2025 version, the blue racket. And as I said in the first review, and if you haven't had a chance, go ahead and go on my site and take a look at it. But as I said on my first review, the racket to me was very comfortable, very forgiving, and it had this incredible sweet spot. And I can say after playing a couple of matches now with it, and even my opponents commented about it, they said, it really looks like you're swinging through the ball much faster with this racket. It seems like the racket head is really accelerating more than we're used to seeing. So today we're going to take a look at the specs a little deeper and compare why this racket at 11.2 ounces, 320 grams of weight, why it packs so much punch but yet has so much comfort. So let's take a look at the specs and see what's going on here. So let's take a look at the comparison between the Yonex 2025 Ezone 100 and the Yonex Vcore Pro 97H. You can see if we skip down to the weight, here's the first dramatic change here. Like I said earlier, the Ezone 100 is pretty light. It's 11.2 ounces strong, and you can see the weight of the Vcore is a full ounce heavier at 12.2 ounces. So that's the first difference, but yet again, I don't notice that much differential in the power. So the second big part here is the balance, which is 4 points headlight on the Ezone and 7 points headlight on the Vcore Pro, which basically means that the weight on both of these rackets is more down towards the handle than it is at the top. I wouldn't say this is dramatic, but it is a slight change. Even the Ezone, still being 4 points headlight, is much more balanced than, say, the Vcore Pro at 7 points headlight. The big one here is the swing weight, which is coming up next. The swing weight on the Ezone 100 is 318, and the swing weight on the Vcore Pro is 340. With the lower swing weight on the Ezone at 318 swing weight, it is easier to swing, and that explains my earlier question, why does that racket come through so easy? It's just because it's easier to swing and the racket is much more maneuverable. On the Vcore Pro, the swing weight is 340, which means it's a little harder to get that weight going forward. But when you make contact, it's very solid, and it makes good contact, and you got a lot of feel with the ball. Another explanation of the power differential might be on the RA69 versus the RA61 on the Vcore. The 69 means it's a pretty stiff racket. In fact, it's rated at stiff, and the RA61 would be rated at flexible. So that means that the racket is less forgiving at the Ezone, but it also, still the question is, why is it so comfortable for having such a stiffness, a high stiffness rating? Another big difference in obtaining power on a light racket is in this the last spec we'll look at, which is the beam width. You can see it's got a tapered design, which means at the top of the hoop it's 24.5, in the middle of the hoop it's 26.5, and at the bottom of the hoop, or the throat, it's 23 thickness, versus the Vcore, which has what's called a constant beam, and it's 21 millimeters all around the hoop and on the throat of the racket. If you just look at these two rackets side by side, you can see the Ezone 100 on the left, how thick that throat beam is compared to the Vcore, which is a 21 millimeter frame all the way around. But on the Ezone, it's 26 millimeters, which would be considered pretty thick, and therefore would make the racket a little more rigid and stiff. Here is another large difference. If you look at the Ezone on the left, and you look at the size of the hoop, it's 26.5 millimeters in the center, where the Vcore Pro is 21 millimeters in the center. So that's a big thickness differential as well on the hoop, right in the center of the hoop where the sweet spot is. So we've looked at the Yonex Ezone 100 and determined it's a relatively stiff racket. It's a light racket. It has a 100 square inch head with, a fairly good sweet spot, good size sweet spot. But why is it so comfortable? So Yonex claims to have added a groove on the inner portion of the frame to help the racket bend optimally through impact. They also claim the isometric head shape helps give a plush feel. But they also claim Minomushi bagworm is a worm found in Japan, and according to Yonex, they're using Minilon ultra-thin fibers found from the bagworm, which when added to the shaft help to dampen harsh vibrations. So maybe it's all about the worm and not about the design, and that's why the racket seems so comfortable. I really have to say I enjoy serving with the Ezone 100. It has plenty of access to power on a flat serve. It's got really good spin on the slice, and the shot that I couldn't quite get with the Vcore, maybe because of the weight or the weight distribution, is the kick serve. This racket, I can really get a really nice kick serve, a shot that I did not have with the Vcore, but very easy to find with this Ezone 100. Here's the specs, how I rated the racket. Comfort, I gave it to the Ezone, and on power, I called it equal. You do have to work a little harder on the Vcore to get the power than you do with the Ezone. Volleys, I definitely gave it to the Vcore because of just that weight, and the volleys at the net are very firm and solid. On the serves, I have to give it to the Ezone again because of that, the availability of hitting a really easy slice and getting that racket around on a kick serve. Plus, there's really no differential in power on the serve between the Ezone and the Vcore. And then the groundies, the ground strokes, again, the Ezone is just a little more maneuverable, and therefore it's a lot easier to hit if you want to hit in the corners or you want to open up the court, go down the line. It's much easier to do with a maneuverable racket like the Ezone. So those were my scores overall. I would say try the racket for yourself. I can usually tell in the first 10 minutes or so if I like the feel of the racket, just the overall feel. And if you like the feel of it, then spend a little more time with it. Hit some rally balls, and if you can, get into a match or two and really put the racket to the test. But I highly recommend you demo a racket always. It's just a lot cheaper to try it before you buy it, and then you have to resell the racket and you don't get all your money back. So definitely try it. I forgot to mention also the strings that I used on the Yonex racket was the Yonex Polytour 16, and it was strung at 55 pounds of tension. I would say I'd usually go between myself 52 and 54 pounds, but that was the string and the tension that came on the demo. So I just thought I'd let you know that. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and as always, I will see you on the court. Bye for now.